Do you know what patience is? Getting your new iPhone at 12 and then waiting until 7 to unbox it. Hey everyone, Kenji here, and today we are going to be unboxing the iPhone 12 Pro Max and going over all the features that me as a photographer think are the most exciting features in this phone. And before we jump into it, if you can go ahead and like and subscribe, that would actually really help me out a lot. Now let's get into it. You know what I forgot? I forgot something to open this with. Wait, you know what? Let's go and see if we can open it without it. Actually, you know what? It comes with a little tab here. Let's go ahead and pull this off. It's so satisfying. Alright. This off to the side. Alright. Here we go. Been waiting all day for this. Here we go. Man, this phone is huge. So I got the Pacific Blue edition, and I got 256 gigabytes on the phone. And I gotta say, seeing this actually in person, the Pacific Blue looks gorgeous on it. And actually the nice reflective sides, the stainless steel sides, is really, really, really gorgeous. Man, I can't get over it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and peel this off. You want to hear it? There we go. I'm gonna put it right next to the mic. Yes. Yes. Oh man, there's nothing like a fresh screen that is so gorgeous on it. Got the 3 cameras on it. Man, that is gorgeous. All right, so that's the phone, obviously. What else comes in the case? It comes with a USB-C to a Lightning jack. I don't know why they didn't just put the USB-C port on the phone. It'd be really nice. Eventually, I think they will do it. I just don't know when. So, got some documentation here. Apple sticker. And got a little tool here for taking out a SIM card. I got the AT&T edition of this, so I actually don't need to do that. So, and that's literally it. That's everything that is inside the box. Very simple unboxing. Gotta be honest, I'm actually pretty disappointed that they didn't include a power adapter. I spent $1,200 on this phone, and $1,200 for a phone that doesn't come with its own power brick is a little disappointing. I do understand that they probably think that most people already have power bricks, so they don't necessarily have to put it inside there, but if you're spending $1,200 on a phone, they really should just throw in a power brick, or at least give you the option to decline it. Because, well, granted, I would never decline it, but I don't know. To me, they should have just included that. All right, let's talk about a little bit of history. I bought my last iPhone in 2016. That was the iPhone 7 Plus, and I got it pretty much on launch day, just like I did with this phone. And this thing that I want to do is I want to go over some of the general specs on the phone before we get too far, and then I'm going to start jumping into all the different things and features that I think, as a photographer, make this phone the best phone ever. Now, granted, I haven't tried out all the features, but all the features that I'm super excited about, and I'm going to give a full review on them later. But let's just see all the things that I'm excited about. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and talk about some of the general specs. So, this phone, let's first talk about size. This is a big phone. This is the max size. So this actually has a height over here of 6.33 inches, and that is, hang on a second, 160.8 millimeters. Sorry, I can't do that conversion in my head, sorry. And the width on the phone is 3.07 inches, and that comes out to, I think, around 78 millimeters. And the depth on the phone over here is 0.29 inches, which comes out to about 7 millimeters, somewhere in that ballpark. So it is a pretty big phone. Coming from the iPhone 7 Plus world, it's actually not that much bigger in my hand. It actually feels about the same size. I'm doing a secondary video with my iPhone 7 right now, so I can't actually show you. But it doesn't really feel that much bigger. And the weight on this is 8.03 ounces, so just over half of a pound. And I'm sure once you add the case to it, I'm sure it's going to bump it up just slightly higher, but most cases are pretty light. But pretty much half a pound for this guy. It does feel a little bit weighty, but I actually don't mind that because I always know that it's in my pocket. Kind of makes me feel like a little bit more secure that I know that it's in there, and I'm not always constantly patting my pocket to make sure that I have my phone. And the screen size over here goes from diagonal to diagonal over here is 6.7 inches, which is a lot larger than my current iPhone. So my current iPhone, it doesn't have these notches over here cut out for the top and the bottom. So because of that, the screen is actually kind of cropped on the top and cropped on the bottom for my current iPhone 7 Plus, because the iPhone 7 Plus actually has the button on the bottom where you press it. Now, it wasn't a physical button, but it did have that feedback on it, so it kind of feels like a button when you press down on the little notch that they have cut out there. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some of the major features on this phone. I'm just going to talk about some of the features that I'm not really too excited about, but I feel like I should just mention them. The first one is the 5G. Everyone seems to be talking a lot about the 5G and how amazing that is. And when I say everyone, I say mostly Apple. But to be honest, I don't really care that much. I don't really have 5G in my area, at least not too close to me. I don't really expect to be getting a lot of use out of that. And 4G has been pretty decent. So I don't really care about that, but I do want to mention that is something new with this phone. The next one is the upgraded processor on this phone. This processor is the new A14 Bionics chip. Apparently they took that chip directly out of the $6 million man, so I think that's pretty cool. And then there is, of course, the new water resistance rating. This is IP68. You can definitely bring this down to 6 meters for 30 minutes. I don't necessarily suggest that you try that, but hey, if you ever happen to knock your phone into the toilet and then you have to then wash it with soap and water and drench it in bleach after, it's good to know that this guy is waterproof. Now, I'm not saying that happened to me. Let's go ahead and move on. So, let's go ahead and talk about the most exciting things that I think are about this camera. And as a photographer, the things that I think are most exciting is cameras. And this, of course, has 3 cameras on it. It has a ultra wide, it has a wide, which is the normal lens, and then they have the telephoto lens. So let's go ahead and start out with the ultra wide. The ultra wide is an f2.4 aperture, and it has a 120 degree angle. The wide angle lens, it doesn't, I don't know what the exact angle of view is, but that actually has a 1.6 aperture, f1.6. And then the telephoto is actually a 2.5x. All the other iPhones with their telephoto lenses were all just 2x optically zoomed. And this one is 2.5x optically zoomed. So that's actually really, really good that they do give you that little bit of extra optical reach, because you really don't want to be doing digital zoom. What you really should do is, if you feel like you want to get in closer, just try to get closer if you can. And if you can't, just take it at the regular field of view that you get with the standard lens. Don't digitally zoom it, and then just crop it in post. Because you know what? If you crop it beforehand and your horizon was, let's say, a little bit skewed, then you're gonna have to crop it even more in order to actually get that horizon nice and straight. So don't ever digitally zoom. Just go ahead and do that later. You always have the option. The only thing about the telephoto lens is that it has an f2.2 aperture. I believe on the previous iPhone 11 Pro that the telephoto lens actually had a 2.0 aperture. I'm not positive on that. You can go ahead and correct me down in the comments, but you do lose a little bit of of your aperture with this phone. So let's go ahead and jump into the first camera that I want to talk about, because I actually did mention that there's also the true depth camera. I don't know why they called it the true depth camera. Just call it the front facing camera so people know what it is. But anyway, that is a 12 megapixel camera. Just like all the cameras on this phone are all 12 megapixel, including the front one. Now on my iPhone 7 Plus, the front camera was a 7 megapixel. It wasn't until the iPhone XS that they started having the front-facing camera being the 12 megapixel camera. And that is actually really, really nice, because that means that when you're vlogging with the front camera, you can still get the full 12 megapixels. And you also can easily frame yourself up to make sure that you're not cropping off the top of your head, or, like your head's in the very bottom of the frame, and so therefore, like, you have all sky and then your little head in the bottom of the frame. So having the front-facing camera being a full 12 megapixels is really going to make a lot of you vloggers happy, and I'm definitely going to try that out and see if I like to use that versus the rear cameras when I'm actually creating vlogs and things like that. And let's go ahead and talk about the ultra wide camera. It is one of these, I don't know which one, but the ultra wide, they now have this new night mode, so it's supposed to be like a lot better for low light, and I'm very curious to see how good some of the low light shots actually look. A lot of times, like let's say I'm in Disney World or something like that, and all the lights kind of go down toward the evening, and I happen to only have my phone on me. Well, I still like to be able to capture some of those memories, but with previous iPhones, a lot of times it's like those memories, it's like they're grainy memories, just because like the phone tends to kick up the ISO really, really high in order to compensate for that. And let's go ahead and move on to the telephoto lens. I already talked about this a little bit. The telephoto lens over here, it has a 2.5x optical zoom, which is amazing. And because it gives you that little extra reach, it's definitely really appreciated. And I'm really looking forward to trying that out. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the things that I'm most excited about with the cameras. And that is everything to do with the normal wide camera, not the ultra wide, not the telephoto, the regular wide camera, because that's where all the cool things are with this camera system. The first thing has to do with the fact that the wide camera actually has a 1.6 aperture, which is better than any previous iPhone. The previous iPhones, the regular wide lens only had a 1.8 aperture, which is still good, but the 1.6 actually gives you a third extra light into the camera lens and onto the sensor, and that is actually really helpful, especially with those low light sort of situations. And it also helped a little bit with bokeh and like blurring out the background a little bit. So it's actually really, really cool that the wide camera now has a 1.6 aperture. The next thing that is really, really cool is that the wide camera also has built-in sensor shift. Now, in the camera world, we call that IBIS, which is IBIS, in-body image stabilization. So that means that the sensor actually in the phone will actually shift around slightly in order to help smooth out videos and also make it so that you don't have shaky photography. And that's actually really, really good. And I'm actually really excited about that because my iPhone 7 Plus didn't have that. So along with the ultra wide, this wide camera over here also has the new night mode. So it's actually really going to be good to use the night mode along with the 1.6 aperture to really see how much less noise I am going to be seeing inside those images. And I'm really excited to try that out. The last thing is that this goes down to 240 frames per second for ultra slow-mo. And that's gonna be really, really cool. I really want to see what sort of like B-roll type of things I can actually capture and see whether it kind of compares a little bit with the GoPro that I tend to use a lot. So these are all the really cool things about the iPhone 12 Pro Max that me as a photographer and as a content creator find to be the most interesting and the most exciting. I can't wait to try these things out. If I missed anything, any of the features that you actually think is really, really cool, then definitely let me know down in the comments because I definitely want to hear about it. And tell me also down in the comments, how do you use your phone for content creation and for photography? Do you use it all the time or do you use it only a little bit? For myself, I actually tend to use a full DSLR or a full mirrorless because I just got the Canon R6. And so for all my professional jobs, I always use that. And also I tend to bring it around with me for vacations and things like that, but I don't always have it. So that's why I'm actually super excited about this phone. So once again, if you like this, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out this channel. If you have any questions about this phone, definitely feel free to leave me something down in the comments and I will get back to you on it. And until next time, take care.